Hey guys, SoCal Val here. You are listening to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast.
It's Friday. I would say you know what that means, but it's nothing really. Welcome everybody back to it's the weekend. Welcome everybody back to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. As you can see behind us, it's the Dynamite review show. I'm Adam Cousins, and he, of course, is the problem child, AEW guru, Christ knows what else. It's Dave Robinson. Dave, happy Friday.
Happy Friday, mate. I'm being told by a couple of people that Jake Paul calls himself the problem child, so I can't use it, but that's not wrestling related, is it? Really?
Well, not really. I mean,
it's not Logan.
No.
So I'm running with a problem child.
I have another P word for Jake Paul, but it ain't problem.
I thought you were going to say you have got another P word for me.
Not yet. Not yet. No.
Podcaster.
Podcast child. Yeah, that's it. That's exactly what I was thinking, Dave. Not for Jake Paul. We were going to talk AEW news, but we can't really discuss a big part of what's been going on in the last couple of days since Dynamite has aired, mainly because Rampage hasn't quite aired yet, and we know some fans listen to this before they watch Rampage. There is talk of a big departure on AEW, and it will affect AEW, and it is going to be a big departure should it be true. It's been rumoured about quite a bit. We can't talk about it on this particular episode because Rampage hasn't aired and they are appearing on Rampage. So we'll probably either do it on the Collision review or the Dynamite review. However, Dave, today, PWI announced their top 500 wrestlers. Have you seen it?
I have.
What do you think?
So you have to try and understand their criteria. And because I looked at the whole 500. I didn't study it, but I had a flick through it.
Yeah.
And there was some names on there which wouldn't necessarily get in my 500. Yeah. And they're above names. I mean, Chad Gable, I know he's kind of prominent run at the minute with the IC title has been after the window where they kind of judge it. But he's very low compared to a Moss, and some people like that. So you have to take it with a grain of salt. You have to just look at their criteria. Yeah. And the fact that they do study the win and loss and they've got those records and they do factor into it, there is some substance behind it. Not my top 10, I've got to say. But again, based off their criteria, you kind of have to say fair enough if that's where the numbers come out at. But there is outside influences, and they're more things that they are discussed, like their impact, the quality of their opponent, how good they are as wrestlers. Yeah, that's quite subjective, really. Will Ospreay would be my number one. At the minute on any list that I'd compile. So for him not even to be in the top 5. I don't know where Will actually was on the list, to be honest, but I know he had some time out of injury. Even Cody being at number 10, though. When I listened to the explanation, that was because he missed a chunk of the start of the period when they were judging it. But I think if you look at names in wrestling right now in 2023, as we stand here, Cody's one of the biggest names. So number 10's felt a bit low. Yeah. And then you've got the Roman and MJF argument in terms of how many matches they've actually had. Yeah. But in popularity, merchandise sales, influence, they are top 10, top 5 kind of wrestlers. So, yeah, difficult one to, so subjective and a difficult one to kind of digest in some respects. But you have to just go off the criteria they're judging on, I suppose.
Yeah. So for anyone that hasn't seen it, the top 10, number 1, Rollins, 2, Reigns, 3, Moxley, 4, Gunther, 5, Vikino, 6, MJF, 7, Okada, 8, Cassidy, 9, Josh Alexander, who's actually spent a longer time away from injury as well. So that's quite surprising that he was as high as 9th. 10th, Cody. The one you mentioned yourself, which is Ospreay, was 17th. He was below, I'll read the top 17 now. So Cody was 10, Sanada 11, Claudio Castagnoli 12, Carmelo Hayes 13, Joe 14, Masha Slamovich 15, and Brian Danielson 16. Let's just do the top 20 just because I like an even number. It was then Alex Hammerstone, Bobby Lashley, and Trey Miguel made up the top 20. The good news is our good friend Michael Oku, made the top 100. He was 96. So congratulations to Michael Oku. I saw Charles Crowley in the list. I saw a man like Dries in the list. I think Leon Slater's in the list. So congratulations to all that British
Another
talent.
one I just wanted to mention was Chris Brooks coming in at 89, which was one ahead of Pac. I know Chris quite well, and I hope. Well, I used to know him quite well. You know, he went to school with my brother actually, and he's somebody that I would love to get on the podcast at some point. But he's a name I always look for in the 500, and he's making a big splash still in DDT in Japan. So it's great to see. And the thing I will say about the PSI, it is across all of wrestling.
Yes,
and they don't miss any company out. They really do. Scour the globe compiling this 500. Yeah. So in that respect, I think they do a good job in what is a really difficult job to put that list together.
Exactly. Just for Rachel's sake, because I know she's still annoyed with you about getting a picture with him. Driller Mahoney was 222 in that list.
Yeah.
Dan Maloney or Driller Mahoney, what you want to call him.
And another one, I think he'll be higher next year because he's just recently got his extension in Japan, his contract in Japan. So there's a lot of guys and a lot of independent guys, a lot of guys that are appearing on shows that we've been to, on shows that we're involved with in terms of Ignite this Sunday, that will hopefully keep climbing those lists and one day hopefully break into the top 10.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I would assume he would be up there soon. But like I said, congratulations to all the Brit Wrestling guys. Congratulations to Seth Rollins and kind of a Shield reunion at the top 3.
Well, Mox wasn't in the top 10 last year, which was quite a contentious one and didn't get down very well. So to get into the top 3, he's had a stellar year. He's having a real good run as well with this international title, which might be a nice way to segue into the start of Dynamite.
It would be, yes, we will definitely now start Dynamite. And actually, the first match, so Moxley is now taking the place of Orange Cassidy in many ways, because not only is he the international champion, he's now kicking off AEW Dynamite against Big Bill, not Big Bill Ospreay, Big Bill, who used to be Big Cass. People that I see so there's been some fans that take the mick out of me for saying Big Bill Ospreay, so I'm turning it into a joke myself. So there we go. Anyway,
we don't take ourselves too seriously here on the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast.
Absolutely not. So Big Bill versus John Moxley. Reasonable opener for me. It was quite there was obviously Big Bill was trying to do anyway. Being a power man, Moxley, no surprise, bled during this. It's kind of a regular thing. Me and him are on a roll of who's going to get the more blood taken out of him. Moxley does eventually pick up the win. He did do a very nice, he sort of deadlift, but Big Bill went to deadlift Moxley, but he transitioned it into the armbar, which was a very good finish for Moxley. Tapped out Big Bill, very good opportunity. There was a bit at the end where Starks had blindsided Danielson as well, and they both jumped. Bill jumped Moxley again, and then Claudio come out and hit a big European uppercut. So there's 3 of them. There's only 2 of there's Starks and Big Bill. Are we expecting a third into that, or is it? What are we expecting from that going forward? And what did you think of the match?
Well, I definitely think they're continuing with Danielson and Ricky Starks, and I'm glad for that, because Ricky Starks has had some bad luck, really, particularly recently with what he's been involved with, and even going back to All Out, he had a great match with Danielson, but that wasn't really the planned match, as we all know. So I'm glad that he's still getting featured in these big, these big matches, and against the BCC, or like the most established faction now in AEW. They're all at the top of the card. I think Wheeler Yuta's injured actually at the minute here, and I did read a note today that Wheeler's injured, which might explain his absence. But I love the fact that they start with the international title and they continue in the same vein that Orange Cassidy had left there. I think we do get to Mox and Cassidy again, and I think Cassidy, at least he wants to have another go at seeing if he can beat Mox. I think that would make a lot of sense. So regardless of whether the title change switches hands again, I think we'll get that match in the future. But I just want to say how well I think they've booked Big Bill in terms of featuring him on the show. My criticism of AEW, and it's a criticism that lives on this week, is the predictability of some of the finishes. The main event was a lot better for me, and I didn't know which way they were going to go because they've told that story so well. But there was this match and probably even the Brian Cage Hangman match where I was confident, or certainly with this one with the title on the line, you knew Moxley was going to win. And I would like that to be less predictable. And I'd like us to be going into these matches. And even if we can't get a 50-50, maybe a 60-40 or 70-30 perception on who may come out with a win would be better. And that's something that I feel they need to work on a little bit more at the minute overall. And I think it's part of the reason sometimes maybe even the ratings and the gate is affected in terms of fans going, because they quite often announce matches. But, we've already got matches for Arthur Ashe. A lot of them, we've got matches for Collision. We've got matches for Wrestle Dream.
Yeah.
And if people are looking at those matches and deciding that, the outcomes aren't really in question, that's going to stop them from buying a ticket at times or tuning in. So I think that is a company-wide issue that I would like them to address. In saying that, it was a great match, and that's what we always do get. We get great matches, but sometimes with predictable outcomes.
We do. You mentioned you're happy with the Big Bill booking. I did want to ask your opinion on this. There was a news article that came out, and like I always say with news articles, we always take them with a pinch of salt. But if we think they're newsworthy enough, we will bring them on. And that was that apparently AEW have officially given up on Wardlow going forward. He's been missing in action for quite some time anyway. Does it really surprise you at this point that run for Wardlow may be over in terms of them trying to get him to another level?
Yeah, it's disappointing if that's the case. Yeah, we haven't seen him for a while since he dropped the title. I don't think we've seen him.
Nope.
They've got a lot of big guys there. And as I say, as much as I really, and the credit really is down to Big Bill.
Yeah.
Because everything he does, his facials, his ability to garner heat and reaction from the crowd is phenomenal. And we just never saw that side of him when he was formerly Big Cass. And I know he was in a slightly different role and Enzo was the mouthpiece. But yeah, he's a really, really talented wrestler and performer. But in terms of the booking of big men in general, at times we have criticised it on the podcast.
Yeah.
Another one, Keith Lee, we haven't seen him again.
Yeah.
They've got a whole division of, let's call them super heavyweights, that they almost could create their own division and have a bit more to do, because they seem to just be put in prominent positions and they have good matches, but they don't win very often. And that's certainly the case with Brian Cage. I always imagine this, Tony Khan or whoever the producer is to the match, like going over the match with Brian Cage and saying you're losing again, because it must be wearing a little bit thin for him now. I don't know, maybe he's a real top professional and he doesn't mind, and he's a team player. But his win-loss rate, particularly in the big matches, can't be very good, really. And I think his talent, his ability in the matches they're having are worthy of a little bit more. And it's almost like we get squash matches sometimes, but the wrong guys are in the squash matches. We get Moxley squashing someone, or we get Danielson or Clay. Well, really, we need those big guys, your Brian Cages, your Big Bills, your Wardlows, your Miros, who have been booked slightly better in that department in terms of squash matches. But that's where they should be on weekly television. They should be picking up wins, picking up momentum. And then when they go up to face the champion, they're on a 10-match win streak. And there's a lot more intrigue then going into the match, and plants a seed of doubt as to whether the title will be retained by the champion or not.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that. I think they should do more than that, especially for those bigger guys.
As they saying, then they've given up with Wardlow in terms of his position on the card or his position in the company.
I think more position. Yeah, I mean, I breezed through the article, and I think it was just like one of those ones where they're not going to put him up. I suppose position on the card, I think, is the answer to the question. I don't know. But again, these are just reports at this point. We don't, obviously, pinch of salt thing. You could come back next week and all of a sudden everything will be all changed. But but I would imagine position on the card more than position in the company.
I'll look out for some more news on that, and hopefully we'll be able to bring an update on Wardlow's status in the next few weeks.
Yeah, we can elaborate on it further. Backstage a little bit with Adam Cole, Roddy Strong. Adam Cole was worried about the damage Samoa Joe could do to Roddy Strong's neck, who's been in a neck brace for what feels like forever. Roddy Strong was just pretty much along the lines of he doesn't really care what Adam Cole thinks, although he really does, because we know
what we saw later on.
Adam Cole only cares about himself. At this point, there was Don Callis and Konosuke Takeshita come out, and they were we were finding out who the next victim is. And the next victim on the list is Kota Ibushi. He's the heart of basically Kenny Omega. So they're trying to, I would imagine in this case, they're trying to go after everyone that Kenny's close to. This, for me, and it could happen at Wrestle Dream. I don't know if it's been confirmed or for any show yet. That has the makings to be an absolute barn burner of a match when and if that gets announced.
Yeah, I've been disappointed with Kota's run in AEW thus far because we've had 2 matches and I don't think there's been any other appearances or involvement in terms of stories. He's just kind of coming in for special matches. The match, I'm sure, as you say, will be great. It'll be a sensational match. But I hope if they're going to build to that, then Kota will be present at Dynamite or Collision over the next few weeks to build it a bit more. I'm somebody that doesn't know, other than the highlights and some of his best matches that I've sought out, I don't know a great deal about him. And as probably a lot of AEW fans that as much as they're a fan of wrestling, they're aware of him, they've seen some of his matches. We want to get to know him a little bit more now that he's going to be appearing in AEW. I don't even know if he's under contract, to be honest. I was kind of glad that he was the one on the picture that was revealed because we get more Kota.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd like even more Kota in terms of weekly television.
Maybe some big nets or something that can, just give us a bit of an insight.
Yeah, I think sometimes they assume, and I hold my hands up. Maybe I should know a bit more about Kota Ibushi as a wrestling fan than I do. But I think they always assume that everybody's has got the same level of knowledge, and particularly in the UK. I'm not sure if it's the same in the States. I don't know if New Japan is just available via the app. But it's not something that's on weekly television. It's not something you have to go out of your way to find it. You have to be a fan of it. And I think particularly in the UK, the guys that are checking out AEW on free TV every week on ITV and they're watching it a few days after, we always get a big jump on a weekend after our Dynamite show, which might have been on for a few days because our UK audience tend to check it out at the weekend. They just won't be familiar with Kota Ibushi. So I think that's something that we'd like to see a little bit more of and get to know him a bit better than we do. Yeah,
definitely. For sure, the more, as you say, the more Kota, the better. There was 2 bit more backstage bits coming up here. Danielson was loving it when things escalate, and he's challenged Starks and Big Bill to a match on Collision. I've got another bit of news for Collision this week while I'm here. The Memphis wrestling announcer Dave Brown will be a guest announcer on Collision this week. For those of you that know him, I don't quite know him. I don't really watch Memphis wrestling, but he's going to be on there this week as a guest announcer. Anyway, that tag match is going to happen. They also mentioned that they have matches at Grand Slam as Moxley takes on Ray Phoenix and Claudio takes on Kingston. And no surprise, those 2 show up and they have to be separated. Anywhere Eddie Kingston goes, there's always a fight looming. Are you looking forward to those 2 matches, those 2 title matches? I think we talked last week about Claudio anyway. We know we're really looking forward to that. Moxley and Phoenix should be an interesting match. And then this one, or the tag match on Collision.
Definitely great matches to look forward to. And there's definitely more intrigue involving the Kingston Claudio match because they've already competed for the Ring of Honor title. Claudio picked up the win. So it's in New York where Eddie's from. I think a lot of us are expecting a big moment for Eddie Kingston next week. Both titles are on the line. So again, it's not cut and dry. It could easily... He'll eventually get his big win, but that may not come next week. So I am kind of really curious as to how that plays out. In terms of the Ray Phoenix Moxley match, again, outcome's not in question, but in terms of the match, it's going to be great. And I would love them one week to I know we talk about hot potato in the title, and we criticised him with the TNT title, which is actually, Luchasaurus is having quite an extensive run at the minute. But I think now and again to throw in a surprise like that, particularly on a big Grand Slam show, where the attendance is capable of 20,000. They're nowhere near that at the minute, looking at reports. But yeah, if Ray Fenix did pick up the title, I don't think too many people would be disappointed with that. I think Ray Fenix has got a massive following. He's been AEW since day one. So that would be great. So I'd quite like to eat humble pie on that and be sitting here next week reviewing the show. And Ray Fenix has done what, not the unthinkable, but the unlikely, and beat Moxley for the title. But great matches. And I'm really looking forward to Toni Storm and Saraya on Grand Slam next week as well. Yes. So it's really shaping up to be a great night of wrestling.
You was going to segue very nicely into that match. However, I've just been going through the Twitter universe while we've been having that. And there's a reporter called Andrew Zaran who is claiming that
Andrew Zaran,
you know him? Okay, great.
Yeah.
He was saying that AEW next year will be on HBO Max, and they're going to be extending their pay-per-views to 12, so one every month. Would that work better for AEW, do you think, or is that going to hinder them?
Oh. It's a difficult. I'm just trying to process how much more wrestling I'm going to have to watch on a monthly basis. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure on that. I knew they'd be increasing, and they have increased. Really, they've been running 5 now for the past 2 years. 6 this year with Wrestle Dream. 12's doubling that, though, obviously. Maths.
Quick maths. Yeah. No Steiner maths here.
No Steiner maths. No, just I think that's too many. That's my gut. That's my gut feeling. That's my initial reaction just hearing the news now. I know sometimes that they find it difficult in terms of their builds towards pay-per-views, and sometimes that starts too early, sometimes it starts too late. And I think we mentioned, was it the last show? I don't know if we were talking on air or not about it, but the fact that Wrestle Dream is only a couple of weeks away, and at that point we'd only got one match where for All In, everybody was kind of panicking and worried that we hadn't had many matches announced. So yeah, sometimes I don't get the balance right. Having a monthly focal point that they're working to may actually work better for them. Then do we get less? How's that going to affect the TV product then, though?
Yeah,
the title matches and the open challenges. Will we be getting less of that because you're trying to sell pay-per-views or subscriptions to your streaming service, which I'm guessing, given the WWE network and what the WWE did with their pay-per-views and their content, I would imagine AEW and Warner would like to do something similar.
Yeah, I think so. I kind of. Well, I suppose in a lot of ways, having one a month, as you say, does give them something where sometimes you do sort of have that 3-month build, or not even a build. It's kind of a lot goes on, and and this may stop a lot of these title matches coming on to a Dynamite, which we can tell the outcome of, perhaps. So maybe that will work better from that perspective.
Yeah.
The big jump to go from 4 or 5 to 12. I mean, there could be more. I mean, if they do another Wrestle Dream next year, unless that includes Wrestle Dream, I don't know.
Oh yeah, maybe, yeah.
But there's going to be a lot there. So it'd be interesting to see. But we don't even know if it's true. It was just literally something that flashed up while you were going through, telling us about the last bit, also about Toni Storm, which was actually bringing nice to this bit. But before we get to that, there was another bit of a funny segment. Renee was in the back with Hook. All of a sudden, Cassidy walks up and, what are you doing here? He's like, I don't have a title. And Hook tells him he's a hell of a champion. They fist bump. Hook goes. Cassidy's like, I'm so tired. That's the end of that. Is he going to challenge Hook, or was that just I don't know what's going on there?
Yeah, not sure. I wanted them to carry on with Orange Cassidy with the momentum that he had, and since he's dropped the title, he's obviously getting a little bit of a rest. I don't know if he's on Rampage or Collision this week.
I don't think he's on Rampage.
Not on Rampage. So I'm not sure, but yeah, I'd like to see more of Hook on our TV. I think at times he goes missing for weeks on end.
Yeah,
and I think it's about time that they kind of establish the FTW title, if that's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Or drop it, create another title, but drop the FTW one. We just don't know. I don't know where we stand with the FTW title at times. You know, they kind of say it's a renegade championship and it's not recognized by the company. But then they'll promote FTW matches on big events such as the All-In pre-show.
Yeah.
So I think we're at the stage now where perhaps they make that a legitimate championship and we start seeing more defenses, or particularly if there's going to be more pay-per-views. But I'd like to see more of Hook. And maybe the fact that Jungle Boy got suspended for his involvement with the Punk incident, maybe that affected Hook's creative to a degree.
Yeah.
That's all I can suggest. So yeah, not sure what they're doing in terms of Orange and Hook, but if it does lead to a match, I'm sure they'll have a great one.
Wondering if they're just moving on from Jack Perry because of that suspension, and they're just maybe biding some time.
Yeah, possibly.
Until he comes back. But we won't talk about that. We've been talked about that enough.
I think so.
Let's move on from that. As you rightfully, Toni Storm, chin up, tits out, and watch for the shoe, as she likes to say.
I can't believe that's not a T-shirt yet.
Oh, it's got to be soon, hasn't it? I think I might buy it. It's just amazing. It was you buy enough. you ain't got long until your family gets one more.
I'm going to buy a new Ignite one on Sunday as well. So yeah, that's a promise, CJ.
You've got some merch coming. We've got some merch being bought. They make a good bib. They should get a bib out, chin up, tits out, and then on the back, maybe watch for the poo. Not if you use that AEW, on my cut of any royalties that you sell. This was a 4-way. It was Britt Baker, Nyla Rose, Hikaru, Shida, Toni Storm. Winner goes on to face, as you say, Saraya. Now, for those of you that didn't have picture in picture, I'm quite lucky to have a picture in picture. I watched it on Fight and get picture in picture. A lot of this match was during the picture in picture break. By the time they come back, there wasn't a lot left. But Baker hit a stomp on Shida, but Storm rolled Baker up for the victory. Again, a little bit short for my liking. As I said, 80% of this, if you didn't watch it in picture, you didn't get a lot of the match. But I will say this. I didn't particularly like the fact they didn't get a long time, but I do like this storyline brewing within the Outcasts.
Yeah, I like that. And looking at online, people have jumped to the conclusion that Tony's out the Outcast and it's a done and dusted. Well, I don't know if you noticed, but Toni Storm actually came out to the Outcast theme. Yeah. And so I don't think that's the case. I think she still is involved and there's uncertainty around it. I think she was the right pick to win this match.
Yeah.
But 7.5 minutes for the women's match, 3 minutes-ish of which was during an ad break. I just think that's very problematic. And that probably, I know we're not going to talk about it this week, we'll talk about it next week, but that may even play into that situation in terms of how the women's division is seen and is booked in AEW.
Yes.
I've got to say it did frustrate me again, and I don't just want to keep coming on and complaining about the same things week in and week out, but they're just not very good at booking their women's division. They're just not, and they need to change that. They need to Tony Khan needs some help there in that department. It needs to be a concerted effort. My only fear is that it comes from above Tony Khan and his hands are tied somewhat.
Is it worse when this match is 7.5 minutes long and then on Raw we had a massively lengthy main event match?
I'll tell you what my feel on that was. The fact that match on Raw was the main event didn't feel out of place at all. It didn't feel like it was the main event just because let's give the women the main event.
Yeah,
it seemed very worthy of the spot and the effort and the production that went into it, and obviously the closing. Part of that match with the return of Nia Jax, it felt important. This 4-way, much like really the 4-way at All In, just felt like it was there to get the women on the card and to tick a box really. There's some stuff with Shida and Britt, which obviously is bubbling up and it will lead to a match, and maybe that's by design that they're doing these subtle things. But at the end of the match, I don't know if you noticed, Shida went to choke Britt, and then Britt walked off with a kendo stick, and it wasn't mentioned, but it also did seem quite off the cuff, as if they'd just not gone into business for themselves, but they were just trying to build on the story in the very limited time that they were given. Although I do like the outcome of the match and the fact that Toni Storm's performance when she did that pose and she said, "I thought it was my cue," really, really funny. She makes me laugh on a weekly basis, but not not in a sense that it's kind of like too comedic.
Yeah,
It does.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Sometimes it can seem a little bit mid card or lower card when you do trying to interweave a bit of comedy in. I think it's perfect, and I think there'll be a lot of happy fans next week if she were to come away with the women's championship.
That was my next question. Is she
yeah.
going to win the women's championship next week?
They could really double down on this, and I don't think they imagined that it would get as popular as it has in terms of this new character. So, but I suppose part of it and the why it worked so well is because she did lose the title and she has lost it. So it was a case of her reactions to things not going well. So if she wins the title, they would have to do it in a way where they can keep in line with the character and keep it, it would be, I'm sure they could find a way of doing it. But of course it's Saraya's first title defense. So I'm sure many people are expecting Saraya to hold on to the title for a while. But the intriguing part to the women's division, and this could be a game changer for the division and for AEW, is the possible arrival next week of Mercedes Moné. That's the rumor doing the rounds. There's two big returns or two big debuts that are being rumored for next week. I'm sure you've heard the other one.
Is it my friend?
It is your friend,
I think that's a bit premature. Yeah, if we're talking Edge, the contract expires on the 30th of September.
But that's what Edge has said.
That's true. That is very true, and we all know that in wrestling. Listen, if he was there, what a great debut.
And did you hear Christian's comment about not having his regular partner?
I did.
Little Easter egg, maybe. Who knows? We like to speculate.
Mercedes has also dropped a little one on Twitter by sort of doing the Edge theme, like by putting the lyrics to Edge's theme on there.
On this day I see clearly, or words to those effect. Okay.
Yeah, exactly that. Look, we're talking about the departure, and you're talking about the debut. Now, you mentioned the women's. Would Mercedes' debut be kind of the response to the potential departure? Because you mentioned it is one of the women that are potentially leaving. We can't, as I say, go into it at the moment because Rampage hasn't happened. But does that subsidize that departure by bringing Mercedes in?
What Mercedes does, apart from being a great wrestler and really successful in the WWE, she's a huge draw. She's a huge draw. And similar to how Becky Lynch went over to NXT and those guys did their best number for 3 years, I'm sure, based on a rumor of Mercedes Moné being part of next week, that will get more people tuning in. And particularly with the show being in New York as well, you've got obviously the press in New York that might get hold of it a little bit more and make it a bigger deal. So I think she would be a huge acquisition for AEW. And maybe that is what it would take for people above Tony Khan, Warner executives to say, right, we really see the potential in the women's division. And they want to make money, don't they? And they're obviously of the opinion that the women aren't bringing enough eyes to the product, making enough money. And this is all kind of, I'm not saying that's the case at all. I enjoy watching the women. I'd like to see more of them, and I'd like to see more of Willow Nightingale as one. As an example of one person I'd like to see more of. So Mercedes could be a game changer, just in terms of her overall appeal. I mean, she's been in Star Wars movies, and she's not just a name in the world of wrestling. She's more of a celebrity, I'd say, in some quarters.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it would be a big acquisition. I think I said it when we were talking about it initially. I think it was I wasn't at All In, but we've done the All In podcast review.
And for people that don't know as well, like as you've got Saraya positioned as the champion at the minute, it was actually an incident between Mercedes Moné, Sasha Banks at a house show, which led to, I think it was a drop kick into the corner.
I thought it was. She was on the Mercedes was sitting on the top rope and then kicked Saraya.
Okay.
I think I don't know.
I thought it was a drop kick in the back, but whatever it was. In real life, obviously an accident, but that was that's what led to Saraya Page at the time retiring and being away from in-ring competition.
Yes.
So bringing Mercedes in, and you've got Saraya as the champion, You know, if they could build to a big match at Full Gear, I'm sure that would do a good number for AEW. And there's a lot of people that want to see that one-on-one match, and there's so much there they've got in terms of building a story for that match. So yeah, I think as bleak as my little diatribe about the women's division was and the way it's been booked to begin with, if they can get Mercedes and they can get some momentum, then they've got everything they need there to have a really good women's division. And I don't want to be criticizing AEW. I want to be coming on every week saying this is better, this could, you know, they're going in this direction. But we just keep saying the same stuff at the minute, and nothing really significant is changing.
No, it's not at the minute. As you say, hopefully, well, if you get someone like Mercedes in, you have to book it right, and you've got to do everything right. I mean, if the other debut of Edge happens, crimey, I don't know. I might not be able to contain, my blood pressure may jump massively. If he comes in. Let's move on though. Less sex gods come out next. A lot of talking on this episode of Dynamite. It's not always a bad thing. It depends on how it is. They have got a match against each other next week at Arthur Ashe, I believe.
Yes.
They just really just plugged that, really. They got a little dissension. Jericho's saying basically Sammy's not ready or not at that level to beat Jericho yet, which, well, depending on, you know, what you think of Jericho's level at the minute, could be an insult to Sammy Guevara. For me, Sammy needs the victory more than Jericho next week if they've got any seriousness of making Sammy a star in AEW.
Yeah, I struggled with it. I thought the video package was quite good.
Yeah.
This segment was long.
Yes.
And I was trying to get in a mindset that we got these two guys and the history, and it's coming towards this big match, and they're going to hit each other harder than they've ever hit anybody else. I think that's what Jericho said to Sammy.
Yeah.
But then in the next sentence saying, then we'll go and win the tag team titles. Yeah. So there was it was one or the other for me. So I think this whole program could have been booked better. So I like to think they'll have a good match. I really enjoyed Jericho's match with Ospreay at All In.
Yeah.
So that does give me hope that he can have a similar type of quality match with Guevara, who we've seen had some great matches against Cody and others. You know, 2-time TNT champion.
Yeah.
2 or 3, I think it's 2.
Yeah,
we want to see Guevara back on that level. He can talk on the microphone. He's pretty good. He's not on the level of your Moxes or your Danielsons or your Kennys, but he's very confident and he's a pretty good, well-rounded performer. But he has to win this match next week without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, I think so. Again, just because I believe that he needs to. If they've got any seriousness with him, they need to get him in there.
Even if it's a screwy finish or Don Callis' family involved, Garcia may be involved, you know, with the Don Callis family moving forward. That's, you know, we haven't mentioned it yet, but that could be something that could help Sammy and send him off on that direction and be a star, because I'm pretty happy with what they've done with Takeshita since Don Callis has been aligned with him.
Yeah.
It really does look like a star, and, you know, he's got Don doing his work on the microphone as well, which again, Sammy not bad on the mic, but having someone like Don Callis to help put you over and tell everyone how good you are, that could only be a positive. And if you looked at that as a faction, then Guevara, Takeshita, and Garcia with Don Callis as their mouthpiece, I think there'd be some interesting battles there with the likes of the BCC and others. So if it goes in that direction, I wouldn't be complaining. I know we've got a lot of stables and factions in AEW, but if Don Callis adds another couple guys to his family and it's those guys in question, I think that could be a good thing.
It could well be. They had a little bit of MJF. He had his sort of version of MJF math during this. He was saying, he was
pretty much verbatim.
Yeah. He was basically, long story short, he doesn't care who he fights.
Yeah,
is the gist of it. Although he did call Roddy Strong, I think, the simp. It's just quite fun.
For anybody who didn't kind of understand this and thought MJF had lost his mind, just type into YouTube Scott Steiner maths promo, and that will explain everything.
Exactly that. Yeah, just do that. I think it was on Impact. I'm sure it was Impact.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Yeah, so make sure you watch that, and then you'll understand that promo a bit more better. It was hilarious if you knew what he meant. A bit like LA Knight's one. Sorry to distract. A bit like LA Knight's one last week when he battered Kevin Nash on SmackDown.
Yeah.
The adjective and verb, which was quite funny from a Kevin Nash promo that aired way back when he was.
Has he responded to that?
Not that I know of. I haven't.
Okay.
To be honest, I haven't checked that. I
might check out his podcast and see if he mentions it.
Hey, listen, check out Click List. We had Sean Oliver on this show. Great guy. Loved his shoot interviews. Check out that and check out the Click List podcast with Kevin Nash. It's great. They normally do Kevin Nash and Friends. If you sign up, you get some time with them. I think something along those lines. Anyway, I don't want to plug everybody else's podcast. We've got to plug ours. The next one, Brian Cage, Hangman. This was a good fight for the time it got. Again, I think you kind of mentioned it. We were kind of expecting who was going to come out on top on this match, and it wasn't exactly. You didn't exactly be Einstein. Put it this way.
It's hard, isn't it? Because obviously the main story, the big story here, is leading to Swerve Hangman, which we know we're getting that at Wrestle Dream. So for Hangman to lose would be a little bit counterproductive in that department.
Yeah.
I'm just a big fan of Brian Cage, and I just want to see him picking up more wins. I mean, we talked about Big Bill as well. They had the tag team, Big Bill and Brian Cage, and that was really a good pairing. So maybe that's the answer to that, at least short term.
Yeah.
But I did read these guys have had a couple of great matches in the past, and they didn't disappoint in terms of the in-ring stuff. I loved the spot where I think he was curling him like he was going to do a fall-away slam.
Yeah.
And Hangman hit him with a crucifix bomb.
Yeah.
I thought that was a great little
Brian
spot.
Cage is freakishly athletic for his size.
Yeah.
He can do shooting star presses. He can do all sorts of stuff. And he's definitely one that I would say he was at Progress last week. Very, very good showing from what I hear. But I don't understand how that guy isn't money.
Yeah.
And again, I think we spoke the other week about someone that being Vince McMahon's like wet dream of what he would go for in a I think it was in a woman. We'll talk about one in the women's division. He's literally Vince McMahon's wet dream of the guy that he would have literally on top of the world if it was over in the other company in Stamford.
You'd have thought so. And they've got Ring of Honor there, and Brian Cage is Ring of Honor World Champion. Has got a nice ring to it.
Yeah.
I think Claudio getting his moment to be a world champion was great.
Yeah.
But I mean, I really should watch Ring of Honor before I start kind of criticizing anything, because I don't so much wrestling. I watch that when I can.
Yeah.
But I think maybe that run is, and maybe that ends next week against Eddie.
I hope so.
Yeah, maybe the next champion after that is someone like a Brian Cage. You know, you can really have a little bit of a reset, get a good run of wins, and put a belt on him and see what he can do. You know, because he was Impact World Champion, wasn't he? So he's not a stranger to holding the big gold belt in a company. So I'm a big fan of Brian Cage, and I'm glad we see more of him now, because there was times in the past where we haven't. And I'm glad we see Prince Nana as well, because that guy is hilarious.
I was going to get into that very right now. Well, first off, he said that Swerve wanted his spot, but he wouldn't fight him. And he said that Swerve's balls are inside Prince Nana's crown. That's when Swerve come out with the line, "What up, turd?" Which I thought was also quite funny. Challenged him to a match at Wrestle Dream, which has obviously been accepted, so those are going to happen. They attacked, Brian Cage attacks Adam Cole, Adam Page from behind. Prince Nana.
Maybe one more Adam soon as well.
Yes, Adam Copeland, Prince Nana at this point is, he dances to the what's the Swerve When I Drive or something like that. The lyrics. And he's dancing hilariously funny to it, like he always does. And he's one of those ones. He's one of those characters that when Swerve comes out, you're interested in Swerve because Swerve's got a lot on his mind anyway, and you always want to hear what Swerve. But you always are looking at Nana. Yeah. And he was dancing like he normally does, and unfortunately, when he turned behind, it wasn't Cage or Swerve behind him. It was the Bucks with a super kick party to Swerve. Are we looking at potentially and also a trios match there?
Yeah, I'd love that. I'd love that. And not Prince now he got his new contract, I think, in the last week or so.
Yeah.
And I was watching that thinking he's milking this moment. Now he's got his new contract. He's taking a liberty here because he took ages for him to turn round. But really entertaining, really funny. And the Bucks being there, are the Bucks wrestling on Rampage?
No.
Okay, but the fact that they were there in the building, and they're aligned with Pat, that made perfect sense for them to make the save. So I did like that, and I've liked this story so far.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, when Swerve kind of came out last week and to talk to Hangman, a lot of people was like, "Oh, great! If this is where the direction we're going, and we're going to get a one-on-one with these two guys, then I'm all for it." And it's perhaps a rivalry that we hadn't, or many people hadn't considered.
Yeah.
But they're going to have a great match, but with the involvement of the likes of your Bucks, your Kennys, your Gates of Agony as well, Brian Cage, there's a lot of potential there for multi-man matches as well, which is AEW's speciality. So I really enjoyed the development, like the continuation of this story this week.
Question though, who needs that win more?
Swerve. Yeah. I mean, he has had times when he's picked up victories, and I think a lot of us thought he was going to be the guy to beat Orange Cassidy for the international title a while ago. Yeah. He was the guy that was put in the coffin at Allin, and I think he deserves his moment now. And he's an absolute star. He looks like a star. He talks like a star. He's really over with the crowd. Even as a heel, everybody still does the Who's House, Swerve's House. Yep. And with it being in his home city or where he was born, I don't know if that's where he's billed from, but with it being in Washington, I think you definitely have to make Hangman. Swerve needs it more than Hangman, 100% in my opinion.
You channeling your inner Louis Walsh just then as well. You look like a pop star.
I'm a big fan of Swerve.
Swerve's very, very good.
Yeah, I think the WWE made a mistake in letting him go, and I probably think if they had the opportunity to get him back, they perhaps would, because he's showing just how good he is on the microphone and in the ring.
He certainly is, and they definitely made a mistake getting rid of him. Darby Allin, Nick Wayne, Matt Menard, Angelo Parker. Kind of a nothing match. Obviously, this is all more to do with Christian Cage and Luchasaurus than it is Matt Menard and Angelo Parker. Relatively short. Darby Allin, Nick Wayne win. Quick and painless, this one, really. Although Christian Cage with yet another line that says Nick Wayne's mum's Instagram. She was looking for it last week. She doesn't post enough bikini pictures. And then mentions that his regular partner, he misses his regular partner, but he did then say his Luchasaurus. But an Easter egg drop that perhaps, as you say, another Adam may be coming into, not me, another AC, and I'm AC, but it's not me, coming into AEW next week. It was quick, painless. It was more to do with Christian, to beef up the Christian Cage story of Luchasaurus. But do you not think Darby Allin needs a bit of rest time?
I just watch him and I'm just in awe. I wince every time he lands. Yeah. He takes some crazy bumps, and I don't know. He's just. It's as if he's trying to find a way to find out if he can be injured. I don't think he can. He's like unbreakable. The way he throws himself around. I don't think it's always needed, but that's his style. So that's the way he does it, and I love him for that. Didn't think that 2.0, if they're going back as 2.0 now, would pick the win, but I was glad to see them on Dynamite again. I'd like to see them featured more in the tag division. I know that FTR are starting off their open challenge on Collision. And I'd like to see them perhaps answer that challenge, because they're great in ring performers. They've been a tag team for many years, and they were in the background really with the JAS. So it's nice for them to have a little spotlight shined on themselves, even though they were ultimately they lost.
Yeah, they did lose.
There's no way of dressing it up better, is it? They lost.
You can't really dress it up any better. They lost, and that's as simple as that. The next match is the match that I was looking forward to see. I'm sure it's the one that you were looking forward to see. Samoa Joe, Roddy Strong, and this one, as you said, and this is where this is what I liked about AEW, and this is where the tournament made sense.
Yeah.
Because if whoever won this match was already having some issues with MJF one way or another, you kind of got the feeling Samoa Joe was going to be in the final once it started between them two. At the first point, because we didn't really know who was in it for a while, Strong come out and said at first one, I'm going to be in it. So you kind of thought he was going to win it at first.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks later, they had the big Samoa Joe MJF blow off, and then you were like, oh, maybe Samoa Joe's going to win it. Perfect sense for them two to be in the final. That's storytelling done right, which we criticized it a little bit on here with the women, but that storyline done right. Brilliant match. That was never in doubt with these two. These guys would kill it anyway. Well, these guys would kill it anyway. Brilliant match. Samoa Joe takes the mic. Samoa Joe's basically going to come to MJF's backyard and take everything that he has. Adam Cole comes down to the ring. There was a bit of another bump from Roddy Strong, so the doctors are forced to stretcher him out. And as soon as Adam Cole is on the stage, Samoa Joe basically chokes out Adam Cole to end Dynamite. Really good main event, playing onto a lot of storylines here being played on. But that right there, and I suppose this is kind of why it's frustrating with the women, that's perfect storytelling.
Well, I was thinking about this earlier. They've got not only the guys involved, so MJF, Samoa Joe, Roderick Strong. You've got Adam Cole involved. You've got Matt Taven involved. You've got Mike Bennett. You've got the tag team titles, well, the Ring of Honor tag team titles, the Ring of Honor TV title, the AEW World title. You know, there's a lot going on there, and it seemed to really interlace nicely. And although I probably thought, Joe's going to be the one to pick up the win here, if they'd have gone Roderick Strong, that would have made total storyline sense as well. If they'd have done it in a way that, didn't make Joe look inferior, and if there's a way of doing it so that match next week, Roderick Strong against MJF, would have been intriguing. And, you had the Adam Cole element as well. They went the other way. They went with Joe, and I think they're going to have a great match. Roderick Strong, he's such a great wrestler. He's so good in the ring, and I think he's never been known as a promo guy, and he's never been. People have never really kind of said he's great on the mic. Not to say people have said he's bad, but it wasn't something he was known for. But I think what he's been doing with his character, it's just Parker thinks it's gone a little bit too far and it's a bit goofy and a bit silly. I think it's perfect. I really do. It's really entertaining. I thought when he saw Adam Cole coming down the ramp and he bumped and he was holding his neck and all of that, I thought Mike Bennett's role in that as well. He was saying, he come out with something along the lines of, I'm really concerned, or, he shouted out loud. You had Roderick Strong going, Adam, I can't see you, and he had his eyes closed. There was so many little kind of subtleties that happened that were just really, really, more than anything else, entertaining. So now that he's back injured, it will be interesting to see if he factors into the match at all on Grand Slam next week. But Samoa Joe, the best run of his career. I'm just going to say it now. I think this in terms of his character work, his in-ring work, his position on the card, I think this is amazing, and he's a highlight each and every show that he's on when it comes to AEW.
Yeah, he's absolutely fantastic, and I'm looking forward to that match next week, Joe and MJF, to see obviously what happens. Does Adam Cole get involved? Does Roddy Strong get involved? Or are we next week is a big week for AEW. It's Grand Slam from Arthur Ashe. I'm really looking forward to that. Debuts potentially, big debuts potentially. Lots of stuff going on next week. Dave, what do you finally, before we wrap up, what are you giving Dynamite this week?
I think I'm an 8, maybe a 7.5, because as I say, the Jericho Sammy segment did go a little bit long, and I think it was a little bit confusing in terms of the fact of they're having this match, but then they're going to be a team anyway. So it made me feel a little bit of, well, what's the point then? So that is a little bit of that was something on the episode as well as the women's match that I thought could have been done better. I didn't mind doing it. I just thought it could have been executed a little bit better. But the main event was fantastic. A great match, a great story, and overall a good episode of Dynamite. So I'm going to go with a 7.5 this week.
I was really harsh at one point when I was watching this. I was like, this is not going above a 6.
Yeah.
That's where I was at. And he said to Andy, 6 out of 10. And then I had to rewatch a little bit.
Yeah.
And I went for a 7 in the end, mainly because the main event saved it.
Yeah.
There was a lot of sandwich stuff in between that didn't quite work. So for me, 7, it was a 6 for a long period of time, just because, the women and the sex.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
But I got it to a 7 because of how great the main event was. So that was for me a 7. Just quickly before we go, obviously we are at Ignite on Sunday. Watch our first turnbuckle champion get crowned. We can't wait for that. If you're there, come and say hello to us. We are going to be at the front, so please do. You see the shirts. Dave will be repping the merch, won't you, Dave?
I will.
You will. Yeah. You know, you're buying an Ignite shirt, but you're repping the HTTP.
Yeah, I'll be wearing my HTTP to begin with, and I'll switch over to Ignite shirt at some point. But yeah, everyone just come and have a chat with us. Come and talk wrestling. Come and let us know what you think of the show and what you want to see more of. If you want to see more top 10s.
We've got a load of them to do. We've got a load.
Yeah, but I mean in terms of categories, if people wanted us to.
Ideas of categories, I'll add it to the 3,000 that I've already got, and
even we could even have. I'm kind of just thinking out loud here, but if people wanted to be part of the show to give us their top 10s, that'd be something that we'd consider. So anything like that, guys, come up and have a chat with us, and more importantly, enjoy the show, because it's going to be a great afternoon of wrestling down in Bournemouth this Sunday.
It will be a massive show of wrestling. I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, come and say hello. Give us your thoughts on the podcast. Tell us some ideas for us, some top 10s, what you like, even what you don't like. We already had the swearing stuff, which we've got down a little bit now. We're starting to, Abigail, I know you watch, so we try our best for you. Sometimes it gets too frustrating and we have to let out a few curse words, but we are trying our best to prevent that from happening.
Yeah, they usually come with a warning as well, don't they? So you can quickly mute it.
They can mute it. Yeah, exactly that. Next week, we've got a tag team. Dave, you flexed your booking muscles again. I haven't sent the invites out yet, but I have it all ready to go. So don't worry, they will get their email.
We've got Donnie Sparks and Ant Steele coming on, who are part of AWW, and AWW is the company where Pete Dunne and Tyler Bates started off. So there's a good kind of lineage there in that company. Ant is actually the world champion for them at the minute, but they are known as a tag team, similar to the Briscoes, I suppose, in the fact that they were a tag team, but at times they had their individual runs as well. I know Jay Briscoe was a Ring of Honor world champion, wasn't he, on a couple of occasions? So similar kind of thing there. But yeah, they're the guys I've known for a long time, and they're looking forward to coming on. So it should be a good show.
It will be a good show, and I will send the invites out probably Monday, but I'll send it out.
Yeah, no problems.
Don't worry about that. Wednesday, we have Maven Huffman, the first ever Tough Enough winner, 3-time hardcore champion, and massive success on YouTube. I'm really interested to talking to him a lot about Tough Enough. I want to talk about when he eliminated The Undertaker from the Royal Rumble, and The Undertaker absolutely obliterated him after that. I really want to find out about some kinds of that. And obviously, review shows will be back next week as well, as always. But guys, this has been the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. So you're now Jake Paul's a little bit on the side as the problem child, Dave Robinson.
I genuinely didn't know that was his nickname, so I'm annoyed. I thought I'd found something, or like I used to get called a problem child at work at times because I can be difficult, apparently. But apparently, maybe they got me confused with somebody else.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I thought that was my own little gimmick, but I'm a bit annoyed, so might be back to the drawing board. But we'll run with it for now.
We'll run with it for now. He's been the problem child, Dave Robinson. I've been your host, Adam Cousins. And remember, everybody, buckle up 2024. Buckle down now. Stay safe. Goodbye.